Hi everyone, it's Louisa Wilson, Chief Marketing Officer for Randstad Sourceright. And I'm here with Farid Johanian today, Head of MSP for Asia Pacific, for a really great instalment of Talent Trailblazer TV, which is all focused around the contingent talent trends in the market across Asia PAC. And I think it's a really dynamic and interesting market when it comes to contingent talent, and really market that we're starting to see increasing growth, where companies are turning to contingent talent to gain a competitive advantage. I am originally from Asia PAC, you can probably tell by my accent, and I think in the different markets in Asia, I used to see different ways that companies were approaching how they adopt and really drive their contingent talent strategy. So I'm excited to hear from Farid today in terms of how is the market really developing. In actual fact, when we look at our 2019 talent trends research, we found that 51% of talent leaders surveyed in APAC countries say they expect 21 to 30% of their workforces to be contingent this year. And 1 in 5 say that 41% or more of their workforces will be contingent. For me, that's actually some massive change and rapid adoption of contingent talent in the region, Farid. So let's get this interview started. What are the risks of not looking at contingent talent as part of talent acquisition strategy right now in APAC?
Thanks, Louisa. And look, that's a great question to start with. We're seeing in APAC, like the rest of the world, we're entering a period of quick adjustment in terms of the labour market. There's a constant scarcity of labour around APAC. It doesn't matter which country you're looking at, whether that's in Japan, China, India, where it's sometimes you think there's a lot of labour, but in fact, actually for highly skilled labour, it's actually very tight. And then you're moving through Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, and around the region. There really is a fight for top talent. It's part of our discussions every day. And really, if you're not looking at the contingent workforce, you're really missing out on really one of the more flexible, more skilled parts of the workforce. And really, we need to work together with our organisations and our clients to really understand how to approach the contingent labour market and how to attract that. And there's different solutions and different methodologies that we have to adopt for each different market. But really fundamentally, if you're not looking at contingent labour, you're really not looking at all the solutions that can drive your business forward.
And Farid, if we looked at that in terms of, you mentioned there's some of the challenges or interesting and complex environments to engage contingent talent. Tell us a little bit more about what are some of the challenges or things that organisations need to think about when they're building their contingent talent workforce in Asia PAC.
Well, a lot of what we're trying to do is, when we're looking at contingent workforce around Asia PAC, is what is the problems we're trying to solve and what is happening with the market at the same time. So when you're really deciding, you have a position that, there's a vacancy or an opportunity you need to seize as an organisation, you need to be able to discuss with the market and with your own expertise and your own suppliers, what is the right process to go through to bring talent on. If it's a project-based role, can we really bring on contingent labour for those project-based roles? In a world where we're seeing rapid change in terms of the job types and job makeup, and with a drive and a desire for people to do various types of roles over a short period of time, we talk about new entrants into the world of work and what's driving them and motivating them. There's lots of different complexities that we need to look at, that perhaps the old traditional models of employing somebody for 20, 30 years, doing similar work within an organisation isn't necessarily the right answer, because the organisations are being asked to change very, very quickly. And with that, our requirements of labour is changing. And we're seeing that over time, whether that's globally. We hear quotes of some organisations saying in a few decades, really the only permanent employees are going to be the C-suite and things like that, which is probably an extreme view, but it's really, we're seeing more and more impact on terms of we need flexibility within the workforce, and whether that flexibility is a blend of permanent people with expertise that help nurture a culture within an organisation, and then you bring in skills through temp labour, contingent, hack-in if you're in Japan, or dispatch if you're in China, whatever it is, we need to look at these blended solutions to really make sure companies can grow, meet their requirements, and actually bring in fresh ideas, look at the market holistically and understand what other organizations are doing. And if you only bring in permanent talent, that won't be possible. So really, contingent labor is only going to become more relevant over time. The next few years will be rapid expansion within the contingent labor force, in my personal opinion. And I've already seen that over the last 2 or 3 years in APAC alone.
Fred, it really sounds like, we've got growing appetite in the Asia Pacific region, not only from employers in terms of how they're looking to employ contingent talent, but also people themselves are looking for greater flexibility in how they go to work and get work done. So what are you seeing in the market today? For what roles do you already see employers in Asia Pac using contingent talent?
Yeah, and that's a broad and varied question. There is different answers everywhere to that, but realistically, I think traditionally you've always looked at sort of niche positions and hard to fill positions that you go, oh, we need to bring in expertise for contingent labour. But I think more and more we're seeing these roles that are needing quick, rapid change. You're bringing in projects, you're bringing in expertise for a short period of time, whether that's through learning and development, whether that's through finance, peaks and troughs, or whatever it is. There is a real demand from all different markets of what contingent labour can be used for. So you need to look at the niche positions, but and other ideas. But you also look at more and more people are bringing in real strategic roles into the contingent labour market, where they're going, look, we need somebody who can come in and really make a business impact in the short term to get us ready for the next evolution of the business. So really for us as a provider of contingent solutions, it's really working with a business to say, what is the best approach to the market? Do you want to look at gig economy workers? Can we look at solutions that bring in the global expertise of people with niche skills? Or can we bring in other people within the local market for short term to have a high impact within the culture and within the organization? So there's many different answers to answer that question. It makes it very, very difficult to say, because basically everything's on the table, but we need to do it in the right way that's strategic, educated, and the right approach. Freelancers is again another great way that we can look at the world of contingent and how we can bring people in to help out. So it's not always just temp labour, just doing blue collar work or white collar work. It's really looking at it and really understanding what the benefit and the business outcome will be.
And it's really interesting because, if I look back 5 years ago when I was out in the region, I think Australia's always been a mature contingent talent market. However, when we looked at some parts of Asia, there was some cultural sensitivities or, did people really want to have a shorter term contract? So it sounds like there's a massive shift in terms of both people really wanting to embrace themselves personally, more flexible work arrangement and more flexible careers. You mentioned more strategic roles. Could you give us a couple of examples of the types of interesting roles that you're seeing being recruited as contingent in the clients that we work with in the market?
Yeah, so there's been examples, and just to rewind a little bit, you made a very, very good point about APAC and the cultural change and the cultural mindset change. And there is still some parts of APAC where people don't see contingent or contract work as high level as permanent work. We are seeing that mindset change. And we're seeing that impact as organizations use more and more contingent labor and people begin to see the advantage of it. So we've seen senior positions like HR directors at one client, or even an MD that came in for an interim period to steady a ship, to be able to allow the business to evolve and change operationally, ready for a more full-time managing director to come in as well. We're seeing scientific roles within certain organizations being brought in for doing trials and everything else for life sciences and pharmaceutical organizations, which traditionally may have had people there on a permanent basis, but because they only need these people at certain times and there is competition doing very similar work at different times, these people can move around and you can bring that expertise across different companies and different organizations. So it really does depend on the business need and the business outcome and what's the best way to bring that talent in. I think that's always the way we look at it, is what's going to have the biggest effect on the top line for an organization in terms of impact of that contingent labor, but also operationally what's going to build continuity and stability over the long term as well. So we always have to marry those two things. But in APAC, we are beginning to see that change in mindset where organizations are using contingent labor a lot more. And yeah, the stigma of not having a permanent job is beginning to change.
If we're looking at the Asia Pacific market, what are some of the barriers that you think are in place to engaging contingent talent in the region? And what can they do to navigate those challenges to really get to the skills that they need? And I really loved hearing about that organisations are looking at greater competitive advantage through talent. So I think this is where we can really have a look at how do we look at as potentially MSP as part of the strategy to help organisations navigate these barriers.
And that's the part of my role that I'm really excited about. We're seeing more and more organisations using contingent labour as a part of their normal way of working, but they really don't always have visibility. I think when you're looking at contingent labour, you need to understand your supply chain, you need to understand your cost structure, but also which business units are benefiting from contingent labour and which other business units are perhaps misusing contingent labour or could be using it better. Let's put it that way. And that's really where bringing in an MSP is really powerful, because you bring in that visibility, you bring in compliance and control. So you're in again, another part of the APAC infrastructure or ecosystem is the change in legislation. And the change in risk and being able to audit a process. So having something like an MSP there where you can bring in robust processes, able to bring a governance layer around how you report and how you sort of strategically look at the impact of contingent labour in the context of changing legislative environments and in changing sort of geographical locations and all the complexity around the changing VUCA world as we it. That really is where MSP sits really powerfully, and that then allows us to really enhance delivery, make sure we're looking at our time to fills and how we're sort of going out there and meeting that barrier of really where do we find these people, because we're able to bring in data to really look holistically at where contingent labour for an organisation is able to find them, and we can use Randstad's broader networks and talent communities around building that delivery, and also the other suppliers in terms of optimizing their delivery, how we can build what we call scorecards, so we can actually help suppliers learn from each other and then really tier what we do in terms of what the best supplier is for what type of roles. How can we do this so they, in fact, doing best practice from a candidate experience or a contractor experience. So when a contractor is going through a process, that it's all managed and done in the best possible way so they feel part of the supplier organisation, but also fit in with the culture of the client organisation that they're there for a finite period of time for. So it's really all of that coming together. And then with that optimisation, it really allows us to keep an eye on the costs, what the return on investment is on that contingent labour, which if you don't have an MSP and you don't have a VMS, is very, very hard to really pin down and really sort of health check and keep maintaining and evolving over time.
Fred, it really sounds like, if you listen to that, is that we are evolving our MSP models. You know, I guess cost, process, efficiency, visibility are what is required at every MSP today. But what I really hear from you is how do you use data and insights to drive a more talent-centric MSP model that delivers all of what you need as the benefits of MSP, but really importantly also allows you to identify where to find the talent. You know, what does the talent need? How do you best employ the talent? And what is the experience that you provide to the talent? So I think it's exciting to hear that evolution of what I call a talent-centric MSP to enable that competitive advantage for companies today.
No, completely agree. Data, it only provides information. It's really the insights behind it and the value of that data and visibility that's really key. So I couldn't agree with you more. That's really where I'm passionate, and I see as we evolve through the different stages of MSP with our clients, that's really where we're able to have a really big impact. And also for our contractors, we have a big impact with them as well, where we're able to look at where we're treating our contractors, or our suppliers are treating their contractors, how that's being managed and how we're improving the human touch as far as contingent workers are receiving from our suppliers and our clients as well.
So if we were to look at, you know, I've had a lot of innovation coming through already, Farad, but if we look at, you know, innovative strategies companies in APAC are employing or really using to build up their contingent talent pipelines for the future, could you share with us a bit about what some of these innovations that you're seeing?
Yeah, very, very happy to do that. Again, it's such a broad topic. There's so much technology and so much change coming through in our world of MSP and how that's working. But what we're seeing in Asia-Pac as well is there is different markets with different requirements. So if we start in Australia, for example, we're seeing a sort of a traditional model of vendor-neutral MSP, so where the MSP just runs the supply chain. But whereas in other parts of Asia-Pac, we're seeing a real drive where the MSP is an active participant in direct delivery, actually delivering contractors through the program for cost-saving measures and also improving the contractor experience. And also with the legislative changes and everything else within Haken, within Japan, it all comes together of what's the best solution. And we try and localize, so it's that local sort of mindset of we try and keep a standard. We have a governance procedure and setting, but we localize what our solutions are for each type of country and different legislative environment. So when we're looking at direct delivery, one of the most exciting things I'm really excited to see is how we're able to build communities of contingent workers, how we're able to access those for our clients. So where we're actively on board with our client and actually delivering directly as well as running the MSP, we're able to build tailored communities that allow us to share our contractors, our resources with our clients in a much quicker, smoother way, which are used to working with Randstad Sourceright and being able to be deployed. We're also looking at other innovations. When we're looking at really how we can improve our human connection or our contractor experience, looking at using technology like chatbots. Can they do the timesheet chasing, the bane of every contractor and every client? And can we chase approvals using chatbots? So the human element, that the people who are on the site are able to deal with more strategic, more high-touch issues and really sort of build relationships with both the hiring community and the contractors. We're also looking at chatbots for doing extension. We're 4 weeks out from an extension. Contractor, are you happy? Yes, we are. We're right. If you are, we'll engage you with the human side of the process. So chatbots are playing a bigger part in what we're doing to allow us to do more of the human touch, the relationship building. And from there, we're sort of also looking at standardization of process as well for the interview panel as well. So we're looking at ways in which we can ensure the hiring manager gets the same view of a contractor no matter where they get that resource. So withstanding Japan where we have certain different rules, but in Australia, for example, if we have a panel of 3 working on a role, can we make it so the contractor gets the same process, the same video interview, for example, or the same arrangements of face-to-face interview using technology. So there is no inconsistency between supplier A and supplier C or supplier Z. It really is looking at how technology, again, is making it a fairer process for the contingent worker, and it isn't just purely down to how a person is represented. We're giving everybody the opportunity to put themselves in the best position. And then all the way through to how we use Talent Radar, our data technology, our analytics tools. We're really looking at that. We've touched on this before, the insight over information. How can we build league tables of supplier scorecards? How can we really understand what's having an impact for the organization as a client and where we can go from there? And then really wrapping that up with our survey results. What's really working and how are we looking at our surveys, and then how do we use our surveys and information through Qualtrics, for example, to really, when we're building our talent communities for contractor communities, how we're using our 5-star candidates. How are we giving them an advantage for our other clients to say, look, this contractor's finishing at client A again, but for client D, they have a vacancy. Can we seamlessly bring somebody through because they're a 5-star contractor that we've already have all the survey results, they're used to working with us. So really we're looking to enhance our technology to allow us to really put the contractor at the center and our businesses and our clients really there alongside them to make sure we're getting the best bang for buck, if I'm going to use that phrase.
Really, when we listen to that, I think one of the great things again is that huge focus on contingent talent as talent for your organization, that it's no longer filling a gap, it's no longer filling a hole in your organization. It is really about how you're strategically engaging and maximizing the relationship with contingent talent to really drive business outcomes for the clients and the companies that we work with every day. And, if we look at it, a lot of that surrounding is that talent community concept and how you're building brand, experience, and technology to really bring communities together. So, I thought it was really interesting that 84% of the talent leaders we surveyed in APAC are really looking at planning to use more talent communities this year. And it's great to see that focus on talent as a competitive advantage in the region. So thank you so much for your time today, Farad. I can't wait to share this out with the audience. And I know that we have some, new and exciting MSP models that we're bringing to market to, like you said, really to be able to tailor what is the right solution or model to deliver talent to the different markets that we work in the Asia-Pac region, because they are all different. Thanks so much, Farad.
Thanks, Louisa. Absolute pleasure, and happy to be here.